Welcome to the Quick Stop F1 podcast. My name is Tasha, and you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that. Happy Saturday, and thank you all so much for tuning in. My guest today is joining me all the way from Nairobi, Kenya. This is the host, producer, and creator of the Wheelspin podcast, Winnie. Welcome to the Quick Stop F1 podcast. How are you?
Good. Hi, Tasha. Hi, Quick Stop F1 fans. My name is Winnie, and thank you for having me so much. I'm so happy to be here and yap about, this sport that we all love so much.
Perfect. I feel like I'm like the number one yapper on the channel, so I'm happy you can join me.
I'm going to try to out yap you today a bit.
Let's get in. Let's see who can win that competition. So basically, thank you again for joining us. Like I said, I'm happy to have you here, and I'm so excited. Like, this sport is so cool because it's like global. You know what I mean? Like, to be able to speak with somebody in Kenya, like from the East Coast of the United States, is really cool to me. So I think that that's such like a fun thing about this sport and this platform, and I'm really excited that we're able to connect you to a hopefully bigger audience as well. So,
thank you.
Let's get into some of F1 drama, because I feel like this season is like not short of that. Listen,
it's been so long. Like, to think we're not even at the end of it. Like, it's been such a long season. The GTS episodes are gonna slap if they just give us any like. Gonna be wild.
Do you think we're gonna get like a part 1, part 2? Because I think the season actually is really interesting from the competitive standpoint and the like drama off track standpoint.
I in fact think we'll actually be very disappointed because we'll actually end up getting a random Alpine episode in that Drive to Survive season for next year. It's gonna be, I don't know, like, where is the drama? But yeah.
Right. Well, to be fair, Alpine has had a lot of drama, especially between the drivers and the team and everything. So it might be kind of spicy, but we don't want that. We're not here for that.
Or a Sauber episode. I don't know.
No, that would be crazy because no one cares what was going over there. But this week, in terms of drama, Red Bull and the Visa team are once again kind of in the middle of things, and we said goodbye to Daniel Ricciardo at the Hunger Games. Cannon has once again sounded, and we are losing Daniel Ricciardo, and we are gaining Liam Lawson to that seat. So, first, like, what do you think about all of that, and like, kind of what's been your reaction to how this has played out?
I mean, I think we were all sitting tight waiting for confirmations, but I will just say one, I don't think it was cool the way they handled like this whole situation. Like, I mean, if they knew, they already knew. And I was reading somewhere, like, I was reading like a certain publication that was saying that Daniel Ricciardo actually just stayed in his car for a few minutes, just taking it all in. And I think he already knew. And if he knew, all his handlers, like the team, they all knew they were not resigning him. They knew this was their last race with him. So I think they should have let this man do donuts, like in the list, like at least give him like a proper send off. And if the aftermath of that news now officially been confirmed is anything to go by, like there has been so many fan edits, it's all emotional. Like, people really wanted a proper send off for a driver that will probably not be returning to Formula One. But anyway, that's just, but that's like Red Bull. Personally, I was like, I mean, am I shocked in the list? Maybe shocked a little bit, but like, is it like shocking? No, like, this is how they do their business. For them, it was just like, oh yeah, we're not signing this man, we're just confirming it. But then, I don't know, like it didn't feel nice or like proper in the nicest ways. Like, I don't think that was a proper way to send off the driver. Like, the only way we'll remember him is that like random emotional interview with Lawrence Barreto. Like, I don't know. I
agree. It was just very strange. Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's very strange, especially for the fanfare that they brought him back with, so like they kind of just didn't match that energy leaving. It was just like weird. Laurent Mekies kind of didn't seem like he knew that it was going to be Daniel's last race or not. Daniel didn't really know if it was his last race or not. Like everybody kind of was just assuming. If I'm correct, there was like the head of partnerships or something for one of their sponsors was made an Instagram story, and he was upset because he didn't know about Daniel's departing at Singapore. So it felt like, for what it was worth, like a lot of people who were actually like should have been in the know just kind of were in the dark about if it was like actually his last race or not. I think Nasha did a great video the other day about, Daniel's career and just kind of, making the case for why he shouldn't have basically, I think, come back at all. But definitely why he lost his seat. I don't think he needed to come back. I mean, honestly, anyway.
No, I think it was just like a show-day stint, to be honest. Like, I'm just a bad taint on his career, to be honest.
Yeah. And McLaren was bad enough. So I'm just like, if you were to come back, like you really would have had to be on some you would have had to be on like your best performances. And I just don't think he did enough to justify staying in that seat. So I definitely don't think that Red Bull is wrong there. And business is business, but I do think like the way that they handled his departure was just strange. And I always feel that, like, I had that same energy for Nick DeVries, Logan Sargent, kind of like just the mid-season swaps. It's just kind of weird, especially when you're in the back of the grid, not fighting for anything. Like, I would get it if this was like, Daniel was in the second Red Bull seat and they wanted to get rid of him to help, maintain the Constructors' Championship or something. But you're fighting for like the back of the grid. Like,
but I don't know. Like, I would want to justify it's not cool. Like, we've seen so many mid-season swaps, but I think this crappy points, like for the midfield, are very important. At the end of the day, these teams have to answer to stakeholders, their business partners. So, and their pairings have to make, business sense as well. So it's unfortunate, but like, that's the other brutal side of F1 business that is absolutely probably lacks emotion. So for them, they're just like, maybe they were just like, oh, really? Was it heartbreaking? For them, it made sense for their business. So, and I think there's also like, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun. There's also the aspect of Liam Lawson. So apparently he was also in the last year of, being a Red Bull junior driver. Mm-hmm. So they were like on the blinks of losing him. I don't know. Could that maybe have contributed to them just saying we need to bring him on? And I think also the mid-season stop with him. I mean, remember, next year will be the last year of this particular like regulations and these cars that they're driving. So maybe it made sense because bring him on mid-season, build a bit more experience, and then when they're starting next year, it will also be a bit more, a bit better for their new driver, newish driver. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, definitely their kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, like musical chairs situation between the drivers has been just really interesting to witness the past few seasons. Seeing, especially on the sister team, on the Visa team, we've seen Nick DeVries, we've seen Daniel Ricciardo, then we saw Liam Lawson, then we saw Daniel Ricciardo again. The only constant has been Yuki Tsunoda, and he's the one that's been excluded entirely from this conversation of moving to the Red Bull seat.
Why are we not bringing my Yuki on?
Is he chopped liver? What is happening? So it's to me that's baffling. That he's not even part of the conversation. So I guess in your opinion, kind of how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, first of all, my Yuki, of course, I have a bias. I do like Yuki. We've watched him grow since he came into F1 back in 2021. Been a very big fan. And we've watched him, mature, even his radios. Frustrations, being frustrated on the radio is a normal thing. Sometimes when people need to, just cut him some slack because of sometimes the especially early on because of the language differences, especially when
Mhm.
English is not like your primary language, and you just say some things, on the radio, and remember it's like high adrenaline, you're frustrated, you want to express like your frustrations really. So but those are
Right.
things I think we've watched Yuki personally. I have seen a bit of growth in terms of like his,
Hmm.
outbursts in the radio, because now you just don't want to be frustrated. Yeah, you want to be frustrated, but also saying, okay, make this thing work for me. Like, this is not working. Like, let's do this other thing. So
Right.
I really do not understand why they are passing on Yuki all the. I mean, of course, when we want to answer this question, you have to remember Yuki has very. I mean, he is a Honda, like, he's very highly linked heavily. Like, he's a Honda
Hmm.
development driver. So, and remember that is what got him into this Team V Cup that was previously Alpha Tauri. So um I could see. I do not know why they do not want
Yeah.
to bring in Yuki. I mean, I do not. I really don't see it, but I I really do not know. I don't know why he's not like
Yeah.
in the conversations, because if people are going to talk about consistency and stuff like that, and especially measuring it up against like the driver who's driving that second seat at Red Bull, then
Yeah.
it's not something that's like adding up. But maybe it's just the face that they're looking for. I feel, because when you say marketability, I know people were saying that the Ricciardo is very marketable and stuff like that. But so is
Right.
Yuki. Yuki could
Right.
convince me to buy shit. I would buy. Not that I'm going to buy shit because F1 match is, oh my God, it's
Right.
overly priced. So, and it's
Right.
overpriced. So personally, I do not know. Like, I would really want to listen to what people have to say why he's being passed on, like why he's not
Right.
actually in actual consideration for that second Red Bull seat. And especially if there's also that aspect that Honda is moving away. I mean, Red Bull will start making their own powertrains and become like its own powertrain
Right.
now as Honda moves on to like that partnership with Aston Martin. I don't know if they wouldn't promote Yuki to Red Bull. I hope one day he will go to Aston Martin.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with Yuki. I think he does deserve to be a part of the conversation at the very least, especially if, they constantly use him as the benchmark. It just makes no logical sense that he's the benchmark and also not ready to move up to the main team. Like, if Daniel Ricciardo couldn't beat him, if Nick DeVries couldn't beat him. I know Liam, when he was able to do those few races, he did finish ahead. So maybe that'll be something interesting to look at for the rest of the season. But like, on average, he's beating his teammates, and he's been consistently getting better, more more consistent just in general with his results. He has been better on the radio, but at the same time, it's Red Bull. And, we hear Max's radios all of the time. So that can't be, again, it's logically doesn't make any sense that we're going to rate, Yuki based off of his temperament and then not other drivers on the team with similar temperaments. So yeah, at least the conversation today or maybe yesterday, he was at an event and he drove a Red Bull car. So he was in full like Red Bull kit.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, like he looks really, really good in that Red Bull race suit. Simultaneously, I don't know if you feel the same, but it's like, on the one hand, obviously I do want him to be in the conversation for that seat because I think he deserves it for what the work he's been putting in. But also, to your other point, like, I kind of want him to explore another team that I feel like maybe would actually appreciate him and what he can bring to a team. So yeah, Yuki is just somebody who I feel like deserves his flowers a bit more because he has been the constant on that team and has been kind of, exceeding expectations. Daniel was supposed to come in and basically all the expertise he has, all that, PR behind him. And Yuki just kind of has held his own. So, and yeah, now we're saying goodbye to Daniel for the second time. And Yuki's still there and Yuki's
There's
not
this,
even in the conversation.
yeah, but I think it's because I think we just need to know, to understand that maybe Formula One seats are not as straightforward as maybe we
Absolutely.
would love to think, because there's like so much that has to go on behind the scenes.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
for a team that actually just changes drivers on whims, like for example, I feel like I want to speak about Nick DeVries because that is one signing that, okay, I mean, I was excited for him, but then I was like, really? You just
Didn't
used
make
one
sense.
weekend to make your
Right.
decision? Like, this is the driver you want? Like, wow. Like, that's very
Right.
telling of like of Red Bull and like their whole, even though like I know you've not asked me, but I still don't find it right that Red Bull has like some sort of a junior team behind it, something they can use.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
especially the way they used that team back in 2021 when it was Max Verstappen versus Lewis Hamilton. And even the way they used it last weekend, the way even people were saying, of course, Daniel set the fastest lap in Singapore. Maybe that's how he goes on a high. We'll still think
Right.
about that fastest lap as very controversial because why is Red Bull using, their other sister team that they still claim so much all the time that they act independently, but then they go on and do stuff like this that makes you think, no, like I don't think you're operating independently because you're still being used as pawns in this game.
Right.
So,
And that one point is very crucial to this championship. I mean, going into the final part of the season, in order for Lando to go equal points to Max in Abu Dhabi, he would need to win each of the remaining races, win each of the remaining sprint races, as well as all of the fast lap bonus points to be even with Max going into Abu Dhabi. And so on at least one of those, he's already kind of behind in that final point that Daniel secured definitely helps Max basically potentially win by 1 point the championship. So it's definitely not inconsequential, that point, and definitely not inconsequential that they have the ability to deploy a team on their behalf to be able to help out if need be.
Yeah, I do know. Like I think it's an unfair advantage that needs to be addressed. I mean, we tend to call so many issues in F1, but I think that's one headache. I think it's something that needs to be addressed. And I know I've mentioned it before. Like I have seen so many think pieces about how independent like VCAB and that second team wants to be, and how maybe saying it's a junior team or a second team is disrespectful to the efforts of the men and women working in those companies. And I'm like, then they will say all that and then do stuff like this. Then what?
Right.
Then what? What do you want us to think? Like,
Absolutely.
you're a second team.
Yeah, and if the team principal can't make decisions on who their driver pairing is, it's like, kind of like
us.
Then
like
whose decision is it? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that whole A team, B team. Yeah,
it's a thing. And I think I want to say like, I think one of the reasons why Daniel Ricciardo was actually like stayed for that long, and even maybe why he was brought on, is I think Christian Horner is a very big Daniel Rick fan.
Yeah,
and I think,
absolutely.
I think he's the one who was running for him to just be on this this Red Bull thing, family thing. So I don't know, maybe was it all time stakes, when you've worked with a guy and, he's been in, peak performance, and you're like, it's like that situation where someone, their potential, what they can do, you've seen them perform. So you tend to believe in them for so long.
Absolutely.
But then I was like, I think Dr. Helmut Marko, I think he had a very big say because I know we've not been seeing him, we've not been seeing so much of him in the paddock of late, but I still think he's been very influential in actually getting this driver out of Formula One. Because I'm so sure if he was still around, like being allowed to roam the paddocks the way he was, he was always roaming, he was always brassing. I'm so sure Sergio Perez would not have his seat at all.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like, I feel like the power dynamics at that team are very interesting. I mean, just in general, the Red Bull that we knew at the beginning of the season to the Red Bull now, if you would have told me the downfall would have happened this season, I would have like probably not believed you just based off of, they're on a roll,
exactly.
They've been on, like they've been a tight unit, they work well together, seemingly on the, they get the job done. We don't know really behind the scenes, but at least we knew that they got the job done.
They weren't getting the job done. And then until the Christian Horner allegations as sexual, was it?
Correct. Yeah.
The allegations leveled against him. And then now the departure of very key figures, they're spotting direct, whatever, Jonathan Whitley, then AJ Newey. So, I think I think it's just normal. I think it just happens in F1. Like sometimes you can, you go, like it's just that graph that you plateau, and then the only way that is down. So
absolutely,
it was bound to happen. But for them, it happened like very, I still don't understand it. Like they were developing, their car is not working. So wow, what happened?
Yeah. Listen, I just think it's the amount of dysfunction on the team, unfortunately, is just making it really hard to,
yeah, to
bring
function.
ideas to the to function properly, to get new ideas on the table. Like they kind of don't know. And I mean, they haven't been in this position in a couple of years. Like, they're on the back foot for the first time in a long time, and really on like kind of, under threat of Max losing this driver championship. They've already lost the constructor championship this year to McLaren. So yeah, this would just be a disaster season for them. Like you mentioned, all those key people are leaving. Max, we've heard, Toto Wolff try to like court him and get him, to sign with Mercedes. Mm-hmm. There's potential that he may, look at Aston at some point. So Max's future at Red Bull is very like, we don't know. It's very uncertain. And Sergio Perez, very uncertain. We don't know what's happening there. Obviously, somebody stepped in and kept him in that seat. An angel
he
came
has very serious. He has very serious
Listen,
money. All the time we keep on hearing.
Absolutely.
He has but have you seen his roster of like sponsors? He actually has an insane roster. Do you know Disney sponsors Perez, Checo Perez? Like it's absurd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just had a documentary that came out with them. Like he's a big deal. Like, I think a lot of people see him in the sport who maybe don't have any idea of his influence in Mexico and South America and, all over. But, I think a lot of people they underestimate him. I think you see a Daniel Ricciardo who has like a much more extroverted personality. So it's like, it makes sense to them that, sponsors are flocking to him, which they are. But Sergio is just as strong in terms of making money and having influential partnerships.
I think I'm just going to be, not to be even controversial. It's just like a matter of, I think a lot of F1 mm-hmm. is just basically, we tend to think about mostly when you're trying to tell them about, Checo Perez having so much function, like having so much influence, is a matter of, I think this sport is very white people fronted. So when you're trying to tell them otherwise, then if it's not palatable to white people, then it's not that's what they think. Then it's not palatable for everyone else, and it's such a false narrative.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't see outside of their community what's happening, and for everybody else, we can see it. I mean, like he's had quite a lot of like high profile sponsorships in past. Like I said, he has the Disney documentary that just dropped. He has done stuff with like McDonald's, Patron, like, so on and so forth. Like it's quite a lot. So the same things that we're saying about like a Daniel Ricciardo like apply, and probably then some to Sergio Perez. So I think a lot of people just don't see it.
I've actually never seen like Daniel Ricciardo in like, I don't know, like what mainstream product or brand his. I don't know. I don't have one off of my head, but like, okay, that's just me.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
I feel like I was gonna say, I think he has like some stuff coming up with Hulu. I think it's more like you said, because he's white and because he's extroverted, I think a lot of people just immediately give him like a lot of accolades that we don't necessarily like see. So maybe like partnerships behind the scenes that have happened, friendships or relationships that have built behind the scenes. But I know he had like a wine company at some point. He has Enchanté, which I think does pretty well. He was on ESPN for like a hot second. So I think it's just mostly his personality that kind of carries him through these spaces and these conversations. So
I think people do get away. I mean, it helps. I mean, of course, his warmth was like felt like initially, like I remember when I started watching Formula One, like I was very much drawn to his personality. So it's nice, like he smiles so much. He looks like, and so many people have come talk about the experiences with him in the paddock. And it's nice to see that there is a bit of like, personality that's able to come. But also, as you've said, maybe that's like an extroverted, like the advantage you get, like as an extrovert, then you have so many interactions with people, and that makes you more personable, like as opposed to maybe, for example, people who don't necessarily like have that that outgoing, kind of vibe. But I mean, like personality. No, I mean now it's proof enough that personality is not enough to keep in Formula One. And I've been thinking Formula One has become so cutthroat. Right now there's not so many, even like with the different races, there's not so many people who are not who are DNFing. Like nowadays, we even have like a lot of races that would previously expect to have a number of like retirements, like not tied to mechanical issues, like
Hmm.
driver errors. We are having like a minimal, like, number of incidents with drivers. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking we're getting to a place where Formula One has become so competitive. And I think the teams are also coming to a realization that having a name, like having a household name in your team, is not enough reason to keep a driver in your roster. Like just
Yeah.
switch up for the new talents that are coming up as well. And I think next year's grid, and I've just been wowing about it, it's going to be so competitive.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be, when you think about it, it's wild. So.
Yeah. I'm looking forward. That's kind of what I've been thinking as well. I mean, we're going to have like what I think 5 rookies next year.
It's
You've
the year
got
of the
people going
rookies.
all over, like Lewis to Ferrari, Sainz to Williams. Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
and that's
it's
crazy. And I also had someone talk about, no, someone had someone say about, I mean, I think as much as I don't fuck with Toto nowadays. Maybe previously, nowadays I don't so much, because he's always just saying some out of pocket stuff that I am like, what
right.
the hell, man? So anyway, I think he's also been like, I think it's a very genius move, to be honest, to bring on Kimi Antonelli next year, just before we
Hmm.
switch to the new regulations. One, because next year, I mean, of course, there's so many expectations placed on that kid, Kimi. Like everyone's eyes are going to be on him because he's been hyped so much, the talent and all those things.
Yeah.
But I am thinking next year, all the attention will be on him. We will have Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari. So people will be like,
Yeah.
yeah, of course, we want to see how that goes. We have Carlos Sainz racing against Albon. There's just scares everywhere. There's Ocon and Oli Behrman, Oli, who's been a very
Yes.
impressive rookie. So I'm thinking next year we will not be, I think we'll be eating very nicely. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I am just looking forward. I cannot
Because
wait for 2025.
we don't know
What
where
will happen?
anybody's gonna. Yeah, exactly. I just feel like we don't know how anybody's really going to do. A lot of people going into new environments, so trying to like get, acclimated to that is going to make things interesting. And yeah, just like the narrative, just the storyline. I mean, like McLaren emerging as like the strongest team right now, unless something disastrous happens to their car development, that means that next year, I think McLaren is like the team to beat. Red Bull, we don't know kind of, where the development's going to go. Mercedes, new pairing between Kimi and George. So we don't know how they're going to get on with the car and with each other. So yeah, it's like a new
It's going
pecking
to be
order all of a
hectic.
sudden.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's going to
Yeah.
be, I love it for us. I feel like we'll have so many things to dissect every other
Yeah.
weekend,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
different dynamics, how people settling in, and now get to know, will Oscar become a world champion before Lando? Will Lando pick up his, I think it's going to be, it's good. And I think that's going to happen.
Listen. Yeah.
Like you had it
That's your
here
prediction?
first. Yes. I think
Oscar Piastri.
Oscar
Yeah.
Piastri will be world champion next year.
Okay. I'm not mad at that.
I'm gonna take that to the bank.
Listen, I'm not mad at that because I feel like McLaren, I mean, like I said, I think it's McLaren all the way, unless for some reason their car development goes backwards, but I don't see why. I don't see how that would happen. So, and their driver pairing is super strong. Yeah. So it's like,
no, but
yeah,
I think, I think the way you feel, I don't think unless like something absurd happens, I don't, like
right.
it's the same way I keep on telling, I know I keep not, I know I keep on telling, whole time it's just me saying things to myself. So
I say the same thing.
Yeah, so it's just me.
Like as I was saying to me,
I was saying it to myself. I was saying it in my head.
Right.
No, when I think about 2021 and the way the season ended, you see, like Mercedes, we could see like Red Bull picking up, and then they came to 2022. They are banging laps, winning races. So it's the same way, like and like this upward trajectory for McLaren started last year, was it? After Austria. And then I remember one race that has not left my head is Silverstone last year. Like, I love that Lewis won this year, because last year I was devastated. When Lewis was stuck behind Lando on a softer compound of tires, and Lando was ahead on hard tires. And I was also like wondering why they would put him on hard tires. Like, that car was that was the place where they saw they were like, we can be fast everywhere, McLaren. And that's also the power of having the right individual, like, and having the right
absolutely
And that's Andrea Stella and Zach Brown having those people in those key positions. And they are, from then, their upgrades have been no fluctuations. They haven't. Like they haven't looked back. It's just been up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
And like my friend's Ferrari.
They're trying. They're trying. No. Okay. They're getting there. They're
no, but at least, I mean
I was going to say, like, their season hasn't been the best, but I actually do find myself surprised when I look at the standings that they're like third in the constructor.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I keep on flashing them. I don't know how you got here, guys. You're no. This is black magic in George. Like, right. to borrow from George, it's black magic, because how are you this high up? Like, I did, because I've been wondering this. People have just been, they brought upgrades in Spain. They didn't work. They brought like a whole list of upgrades and then they didn't work. And then it's been they've just been somewhere. And then they're actually fighting for P2 in the constructors. I'm like, and they could actually even end up being constructors in case anything happens with Ferrari, with McLaren. So it's just weird. Yeah, I think they're just having a decent year. They might just not be making headlines now, but they're just really having and I'm happy to see that, because that's how we're headed next year. So
absolutely. I mean, that's kind of, I was just like laughing at that, because even like Charles at some point was only like 24 points behind Lando in the driver championship, right? So, but when you look, at least when I feel like I've been like following Ferrari, it's like disaster after disaster race. And it's like, wait, so how are you still kind of in that
like
hunt, you know?
It's like that whole Ariana, what are you doing here? You know,
Ariana, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here? Like, wow.
Yeah, so I don't know.
That's how I want to move. Like, that's how I want to move, like Ferrari, in the darkness. Like, no one knows what I'm doing, but I'm somehow on the top. Like, not on the top, but close to the top. So I think I don't know how they're that high up, but yeah.
Yeah, it's been a surprise to me, because I was definitely like, oh my God, I can't believe we're good. You know what I mean? Like, Fred has talked so much and so, often about how this is like a new direction for the team. They're really trying, to change. They've been doing things the same for so long that, they know that it just hasn't worked. And so they are trying new things. And so if this is a bad season, quote unquote, for Ferrari in this new direction that they're in, I would say that they actually did pretty decently, because they've definitely done better than expected. But I know that there's higher expectations on them always, because it's Ferrari. So I'm excited for next season to see
absolutely.
kind of where we go from there.
Yeah, like if this is their bad, I'll take it. That's fine. Like, absolutely, that's fine. Yeah. Listen, like, yes, if this is your bad, send me. And like, you have to also give it up to this man, to Fred. And I keep on thinking about him, like, in the sense of he's just like this random. Okay, no, of course it's not random, but it's just a random Frenchman, going to call the shots over at an Italian team that's very, like it's Ferrari, like it's very iconic. It's just very synonymous with Formula One. And for him to actually go there and like run such a good show, he's doing amazing. I can imagine like the amount of, there's only so much you can, especially when you're dealing with people who are very big on culture. It's the same way when, when you think about when you're breaking your spaghetti. I don't know how you cook your spaghetti. Do you break your spaghetti?
I used to.
Like, so,
and then I learned that that's a faux pas, so then I just leave it whole.
And people make a joke about it with the Italians, like you're breaking Italian hearts somewhere. You're like, what is wrong with this person? Why you break? So with people who are very attached to their food like that, and knowing like how they're very big on their cultures, and I can imagine the same spills down to how they work, the operational whatever. So going there and say you want to take a team to a different direction, then it's a whole. I can imagine it's a lot of work. So I think if he's moving towards a new direction, then he's done a good job. And I like Fred Vassar. Like I do like him.
I do too.
Yeah, he's hilarious. He's always doing some random
I know he's
stuff.
Always good for a laugh.
He's always good for a laugh, for sure. Yeah.
I agree. That's definitely. I think the other big clue was Lewis signing to Ferrari. I think before then, the conversation was always like it never made sense culturally for Lewis to go there with, the amount of like diversity initiatives that he has, being somebody who comes in the paddock wearing non-team gear. He's very much an individual. So that doesn't really jive with what we know that Ferrari how they operate. But slowly you see those type of things culturally are chipping away. The contract negotiation where a big portion of Lewis's salary is actually going directly to some of these like diversity initiatives for a team that's been historically not very diverse. So yeah, like I think the clues are there for people who, maybe you don't pay attention to these things, but like culturally, Ferrari has always been very Ferrari, and they're very open suddenly to some change happening. And so I do think it'll take time to obviously see all of the fruits of that labor. But like, to our point, I think if this is them kind of having a bad season with those changes in effect, then I'll take it. Like I'll take P3, I'll take P4 in the driver's standing, whatever. It's fine.
That's like bad, yeah. And also, like I love that the love that they've also been showing Lewis as well. Like in Monza, all those like banners of the Holy Trinity, Fred Versace and Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. Like those ones take me out every time. Like, yeah, so.
We're so excited to have them.
I know. And I'm also excited. I mean, even like my favorite team, like I remember when I started watching F1, I gravitated towards like Ferrari, and I was Tifosi. Mm-hmm. And I'm still Tifosi at heart. And now that I can get to now be fully Tifosi because I'm a very much, like, of course my bias is with Lewis, but then and I'm a very much driver fan. I don't have an allegiance to a team. So when people like asking about Mercedes, I do not have an allegiance to them. No, like, no.
No, absolutely not.
After this year, I don't know anything about those people. Don't ask me about those people. I don't know about those people. No, don't ask me.
I don't know them Brackley men. Yeah, I don't know them.
What, Brackley? No, I will not. Because when your driver moves somewhere and Lewis, hasn't gone a lot of places, you tend to get immersed. You know who's in charge of comms. You want to know who's in charge of, so that I can know, like, when my driver is putting out statements like, oh, me and my team are cool, we have lows and highs, so I can always know if this is like really my driver talking or he's been coerced to come. I'm like, who's holding this gun to Lewis? First of all, like, I know we've already talked about that statement. Why would you say that?
Well, let's add a little context to that. So this is a great segue to what is happening at Mercedes. Let's start with real quick with like just the little rundown of how we got here. So obviously for the Singapore GP, Mercedes starts Lewis on scrub softs for the start of the race. They pit him for hards on lap 17, and basically he slides from P3 to P6. After the race, it's reported that both George and Lewis are suffering from heat stroke symptoms, so neither one are available for direct comment to the press. And then the team basically makes a statement from each on their behalf. Then we don't really hear from Lewis for a couple of days. And then we hear this fan video from the Petronas event in Malaysia, where Lewis is kind of candidly talking about the decision to go onto softs. He calls it perplexing. He said that basically he started the race angry because he just knew from that moment that his race was over. And then basically on Wednesday, as you know, we get a debrief from the team, and basically they say that James Allison specifically comes out with the most jovial spirit. I'm not sure what was so happy about that moment, but he's basically saying, yes, they made a big mistake putting Lewis on softs, and that was that. And then today, it's Saturday, Lewis, we post his Instagram story. Everybody's expecting a thirst trap. Right? Everybody's expecting a picture of Roscoe. And instead, we get three paragraphs about Mercedes and the relationship with Mercedes. So let me just read the statement for everybody, just so everybody is on the same page. So he says, "Hey all, heading into the weekend, focus on training for the next race. I know there has been a lot of chat around the last one and our strategy in Singapore, which just didn't work. When that happens, it's natural to be frustrated and easy for me to speak out in that frustration. We knew starting on softs was a bold and risky move, but one that could give us an advantage at the start, and I ultimately agreed with that recommendation. We also miscalculated what others might do. Make no mistake, though, things are cool with the team. As with all successful partnerships, you have to have some lows to have the highs. We're not afraid of those tricky conversations and challenging moments, which is why we have achieved so much together. We will support each other to the very end. It's all love. See you in Austin." Thoughts, Winnie?
I mean, I would have rather had like a thirst trap. Like, come on, it's Saturday. We don't have Formula One, really, or Roscoe. Like, show me some Roscoe content.
Please.
Or like, are you in Paris for like Paris Fashion Week? Like, show me something. Like, it's that whole TikTok sound of like I'm just walking around and then I hear this agitating
All of
sound.
a sudden, I hear a
And that
grating noise.
agitating thing is this statement because this. I mean, it's that whole moment. Were you silent or were you silenced? And we should have just remained silent, to be honest. I feel like this is a very PR statement for him. They wanted him to just take accountability, say, you are not made
Right.
to go on this strategy because it's like, I ultimately agreed with that recommendation, that line, underline that one.
Right.
I ultimately agreed with that recommendation. But it was a perplexing, recommendation. Like we also,
Right.
first of all, like I don't even, I think this is such a very PR thing. I wish
Absolutely.
I was as nice as Lewis Hamilton and very diplomatic as he is. I am not. But there's someone who has like a very interesting bio on Twitter that says, Lewis does the driving, I do the hating. And it's okay. I think we are all allowed to be frustrated. Like they shouldn't be curtailing these our frustrations. Like I don't understand why. I don't think all drivers address all the stuff that fans are like, expressing their frustrations about, and especially when they're very valid frustrations, especially. So this statement, it's very props to him. It makes me like all the time, I'm like, oh my God, this man is so much better than me because I could
Such
never. Yeah. So I want to say, and I know you mentioned when I was really waiting for that Mercedes debrief because I was like, maybe, guys, wait, maybe we're just fans. We don't have access to data. We're not 8 times constructors champions. We don't know these things. So I was waiting for the debrief to really see. Maybe we missed something. This man came out here giggling. I'm like, what is funny? What is funny? Like, there's nothing to be laughing about. Like,
what are we smiling about? Yeah.
What are we smiling about? Like, Star, like, it's not. I was actually very mad. I was very livid because I'm like, every other driver went forwards. Lewis fell backwards. Like he came from P3, and especially the thing that keeps on hurting my feelings is because on Saturday, like the car, they were always having issues. They didn't have a very well dialed in car for qualifying in Singapore.
Yeah.
So for Lewis to pull out that time that actually saw him place P3 very high up, like he was smiling. I have not seen him that happy in a long time. And for him to take that all out, I'm like, so anyway, I was just saying that I was waiting for that debrief to see maybe, the engineers, they have data, they have like all this state of the art, equipment and simulations, and they have, yes. So I was like, maybe there's something we missed. No, he was just giggling. He just said, oh, we just start. I'm just like, okay, so you went with this strategy for vibes and with vibes. So your backing for this strategy was vibes and inshallah. Like you're just like, no, we're gonna, we're just gonna hope this happens because nothing was making sense. So even though he would have and I think I saw Nyasher like mention it, he was on a scrubbed set. So he was going to pit very, very, very early. So even though he pitted, even though he was ahead of Max, or he was leading the race, and like maybe they banked on a safety car happening, everyone else would have pitted as well. So like it's a strategy that was like, you cannot base your whole strategy on chances, on probabilities. Okay, maybe there's a chance that. No, I feel like they could have gambled with George. George likes these things. They should have asked him to go on the soft side. Like there's that time, the race, was it Spa where he was disqualified and going long? He likes doing these things. They should have asked him to do it.
I'm so sure a Hail Mary.
As tribute, he would have volunteered. I feel like they should have asked him first.
Absolutely.
Before trying to, I mean, it looked like they were forcing this thing down Lewis Hamilton's throat. And I will take his earlier statements as my reference. He said, I was perplexed. Sir, keep that same energy. Don't say you ultimately.
And even George. And that's the other thing is like, even George agreed. He was like, oh, Lewis is not going to like that. So I'm like, now all of a sudden we're flipping the script.
We are in our lows and I don't like this lows. These are fabricated
it's been low all season.
Let me tell you something. I feel like, and I've said, I think Toto and Mercedes, like all those stakeholders, they are like very good politicians. And at the end of the day, I think we all have to realize and I don't like it. Like, it's business.
Right.
It's business in Formula One. So, of course, you want to make your stakeholders, your shareholders very happy. Tell them, okay, Lewis is leaving, but see how he's compared to George Russell this season. So it's not as bad.
Absolutely.
See, like, we're not losing so much. So it's a narrative for them. And I think he's just been moving funny. Of course, he's been moving funny since 2021 Abu Dhabi. But this year, he's also been moving extra funny. He's acting like a jilted lover.
Way funny.
And exactly. So for me, it's still giving very much politics and making him release the statements. I know it's all good and everything, but I cannot believe Mercedes wants to end this iconic partnership like this. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
I don't know who is advising them. They should call me because it's not looking good. Like this whole, and they don't even know how to, they could even be subtle. I don't know. I'm not happy. I'm just, they shouldn't be giggling. They shouldn't be, if anything, they should be placating themselves for us, like asking us for forgiveness, not telling us, giggling the other, like, what do you mean? No, we just gamble. This is not a casino, bro. Like, I know everything is just like a matter of money. Like for you to base a whole like strategy on just like, do things that are sure. Like, don't just gamble. But I'm just saying, probably they should have asked George. I know George would have said yes. Put me on very fast.
Right. But I was going to say, I feel like this season, I think a lot of fans are like kind of frustrated in terms of like the PR of the team, just the overall like vibes on the team just feel very like not becoming of what you would expect for, the departure of a Lewis Hamilton from the team. Funny enough, today is actually Mercedes' announcement of Lewis Hamilton to race for their team from 2013 onwards. So this is the actual like, anniversary of that. So it's just kind of funny that on this day, he's also now telling us like, hey, things are all great with the team. So I just find that every time there's like a milestone or like something, interesting to note from his career, it's always like overshadowed by like this team being like very, I don't want to call it incompetence because I just don't agree that you can be this incompetent all the time. And it makes it, it doesn't make a difference that it's, incompetence or sabotage, whatever you want to call it. Like the result is still the same at the end of the day. So I just feel like this season and this team it's just been a big PR nightmare. And I just want it to end as soon as possible.
I want this nightmare to end too. Like I don't have to deal with them anymore. Like, especially, I also, this is the first time I'm actually admitting this because I've been feeling it inside my heart because this is how much this sport makes us feel. Like this year, I feel like Mercedes have really messed us up. Like I don't even, sometimes I'm just like, okay, we qualified like that. P7, P9. I'm like, it's okay. Like, and then we go to the race. I don't even feel anything because I'm already so desensitized. I know they will just try to do something to mess up his race. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And they've taken, honestly, they're just sucking the life out of me. Like sometimes it's just
agreed.
Like they are just sucking the life out of me sometimes. Like we can only talk about, but as in, I think we can stop talking about it. Like we have to advocate for, I know you guys I know you had asked, I think on your Twitter about people to just name those particular events where we felt like there was some level of quote unquote, for sabotage, like claims before. Yeah, since that whole email saga, people sending emails, and then things started becoming a bit different. Things with Lewis Hamilton's tire blankets back in Canada. Like, I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, so we're just like, so I'm saying like all those lists, all those like all that situation, like all those things happening, like it really just justifies and helps build a case for why we feel so dispirited and so so disappointed in how this team is moving. And also it was Lewis Hamilton's 350th like start in Singapore, and for them to just make it like just such an awful race you want to forget. It's not cute.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's honestly a season, I think, to forget. I hope from their perspective, they can end on an amicable note. I think a lot of fans are just ready to move on from it and just start
No,
fresh
for them it's a
with
good thing. No,
Ferrari.
for them they're
Yeah,
happy. They are happy. They are happy about it because for them it makes sense when they're presenting their data to their shareholders.
yeah,
Yeah.
true. Yeah, of
So,
course. Yeah,
if Susan.
absolutely. Well, I think this was a great conversation. I mean, honestly, I could go in on Mercedes all day. You guys know this. But I think definitely I'm looking forward to seeing, I guess, how the rest of the season plays out. I think now that everybody's kind of on high alert of like how the season is being perceived by the fans, whether or not the stuff that we're seeing is happening or not, like, you know what I mean? I think being perceived in this way, I think I would hope that, you know, a team would try to like do a little bit better at making things just more equal. Cause I think that's all it really comes down to is like a lot of fans just want to see the equal treatment of Lewis and George, because when things are equal, Lewis does really well. And when when he constantly feels like he's being hindered, it doesn't feel fair because it's like, we know he's capable of so much more. So yeah, on that note, I think I'm just, go ahead. Yeah, please.
No. I mean, even like we've seen so many times when, like in like a very big number of races where George qualifies so far up and Lewis sometimes is so down there, and they finish the race either Lewis ahead of him or just
Yeah,
somewhere like,
somewhere close. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the thing. I think that was like a fun narrative that went on social media. And then I think the team caught on and was like, maybe we should do something about that.
Yeah, let's go in. Let's attack the race thing. Like, let's go there.
Yeah.
Like, let's go there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, though, this was definitely a fun conversation, and I'm really happy that we could have had you on today. Before we go, can you please tell us a little bit more about your podcast, the Wheelspin podcast?
So the Wheelspin podcast is like a motorsport platform run by myself, and I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya. So we curate content. We do short format content on Instagram and TikTok everywhere, and then we also do like race debriefs, and we curate conversations around the place of Africa in global motorsport, especially. So we're big fans of Formula One finally making a return to Africa, because there is like an untapped market here in Africa. The numbers are growing. We have the fans, and if anything, our community is testament to that as well. So we need to talk about. We need to, even when you're talking about, you know, inclusivity, diversity in Formula One, let's not forget about the continent, the African continent, because it has so much to offer as well. We just need, you know, we just need equity, like fair opportunities, fair access to these opportunities as well. And I feel Formula One finally returning to Africa will be like a very big step towards, you know, addressing such inclusivity and diversity like issues that are still very faced in Formula One. Because I feel like when F1 says they're trying to be inclusive, it's either maybe addressing the population that's Europe, that's the USA, and then we leave a very big demographic of a community that is in Africa as well. So, and, you know, calling it a world championship when you still don't race in one of the biggest continents like that is Africa, then it's not giving. So, yeah, so for me, I really do, I do want to, my vision, my mission is to really just show girl, and especially young Black girls, African girls, like you can belong in whatever room that you want to belong into. You can talk about things, you know, you can explore your passions as well. Just, be bold, be brave, and do all the things that are scary, and and, you know, do them. You do them bravely and show up always.
Absolutely.
And thank you guys for giving me like this opportunity as well. Like, this is testament for, like, you know, the power of collaboration as well. So so it's really, I can't wait to see what you guys do. And I hope we do get to link up at one day at one of the races, or maybe you know, I hope we do get to link up physically soon and continue doing the work that you guys do. Because I feel like serving a community, serving the a certain demographic of people. You
Right.
also need to have people who look like them in those spaces as well. So
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
it's very, 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 very important.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's such a huge deal seeing representation matters. Like, I mean, that's just kind of the thing, isn't it? It's like you see yourself somewhere and it's like, oh, I can do that too. Because before you didn't even realize it was a pathway. I'll definitely say like for me with Quick Stop, like the first two videos I saw or the first video I saw was like so excited to see Tandy like next to Nasha, you know, like a Black woman finally talking about, you know, motorsports. And I'm just like, that is so cool to me. And so like I really would not be here or as interested in Formula One without Tandy. So like, you know, for me to now be here, for you to be in your space, you know, like you just never know who sees you, who is like, oh, that's cool. Like I'm interested now because I see somebody. So you like the power representation is like exponential. And so, I'm happy we could have you here. And like I said, I'm just so happy that we got to speak with you. I saw some of your debrief videos on YouTube. I love them so much. I love how you have like your desk and like your background is like the production quality. It's amazing. So please, y'all, like go check out the Wheelspin podcast on YouTube, listen on all the platforms, subscribe, be, you know, supportive because it is hard out here in these content creation streets. So please support if you enjoy this content. And then I want to say it to all of you at home listening, thank you again for sticking through the show. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate it on Apple and Spotify. You can give us a 5-star review. If you really loved it. And then you can also support us through Patreon if you want to see ad-free content there as well. And then please subscribe to our YouTube. We're still super close to hitting 5K subscribers. That would just mean the world to us. And these are all a big help to our platform and growing the platform. We will obviously continue to be posting throughout the break. So definitely keep an eye out for posts from us. Have a great rest of your weekend. And remember, no matter what your PR department throws at you, keep it on the black stuff. Bye, guys.
Look, mate, if you've got this far, clearly you like what we do. So here's a link to subscribe to the Quick Stop F1 family. Give that a click. And here's another link to some more cool on our channel. Sorry, cool stuff. And remember, no matter what happens, keep it on the black stuff. Click the stuff. Click the links. Click the links. Click the links. There. They're there.